I think as people are logging into our call this evening, I want to just make a few introductory remarks. Once again, thank you very much for joining us this evening. This is the Wings for Widows Community Zoom series, and happy Cinco de Mayo. Yesterday, it was May the 4th, be with you. I kept reminding myself. I hope you're enjoying a beautiful springtime. Here in Minnesota, the lilacs are just about to bloom, and couldn't be better timing because it's Mother's Day on Sunday. Thank you for taking time to join us this evening for what promises to be a very good session. And I've really been looking forward to this for several weeks. I'm Leanne Lorian, one of the volunteers who make this wonderful organization work. We do have just one more of these seminars coming up this spring after tonight. So do mark your calendar and register for May 19th, which will be two of our speakers. One of our very favorite speakers and also one of our enrichment class teachers is Susie Schultz, and she'll be presenting the topic Living an Intentional Life. And then she'll be joined by one of our financial coaches, Grant Meyer, who I think this is very timely with summer approaching, important money-saving tips from Grant. Please do know that everyone at Wings for Widows feels a deep sense of calling to care for you in practical ways. We want to help you get the answers to your basic questions. We want to hear your story, and we want to help you find the best way to write the next chapter. So please, if you haven't already, reach out to us and let us know how we can help, and then let others know about this valuable resource. It's wingsforwidows.org, very simple. Tonight, we have a wonderful lineup of speakers that I'll introduce in just a moment. Please, while they're speaking, do keep your mute button on and use the chat button at the bottom. It's a little icon that looks like a conversation bubble. Use that if you do have questions. And as time allows, we'll answer those questions at the end of each speaker's talk. The call will last around an hour, and it is being recorded and will be edited and posted to our website at a later date, usually within 2 to 3 weeks after the talk. So first of all, let me introduce Daphne Winston. Daphne is one of our newest financial coaches with Wings for Widows, and she's one of 3 female certified financial planners on our volunteer roster. Daphne started her career in a completely different field, having earned her Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering from Purdue University. She then earned a second degree in financial planning from Xavier University, and Daphne is a fellow widow. After losing her husband suddenly at the age of 39, Daphne knows what it's like to survive great loss and raise kids as a single parent. She has twin daughters. She brings her hard-earned sense of what's important to her daily work with a spirit of compassion and caring. Her title for tonight's talk is very intriguing, Conquering the Bag Lady Syndrome. Welcome, Daphne. Thank you for coming with us tonight.
Well, thank you so much, Leanne. I so appreciate that welcome, and I'm grateful to be here to be invited. So if I am allowed to be the host, if we can do that, once I'm able to be the host, then I can start sharing my screen. And so we're just going to talk about things that we can do to overcome this fear. And so hopefully I can I'm going to need, let's see, was I given it? Nope, I still am not able to host. Diane, can you make me the host? That would help.
Yep, 1 second.
Okay, thank you. And so, yeah, as we got started, I'm a mom, I'm an empty nester. I'm actually, I live in Florida, but I'm here in Ohio visiting my daughter. So one is probably going to come busting through the door from work. So I apologize beforehand if she's coming in. So she's an RN. Thank you so much for giving me the host baton. So she's an RN, and I'm so very proud of her. So, but here we're going to talk about, how to conquer this bag lady syndrome and 5 steps, that broad steps that we can take to be financially secure. Now, ladies, this is intended to be interactive. So please type your comments in the chat box. We're going to be reading them along. I will probably, ask you to raise your hand on some things. I need interaction. And so also remember, this is going to be a safe space to talk. There's no dumb question. There's nothing bad that can be said. So with that, we were going to launch a poll. But so I'd just like for you, please, to type this in the chat box. Help me understand what keeps you up at night. And if you can, go ahead, start typing that in. Is it running out of money? Is it not understanding investing? Maybe you've got children and you want to leave them an inheritance, but you're not sure if you can afford to do that. Or is it you got to work until you're too sick and you're old? So start typing those in, ladies. Or are you worried about losing your home? All right. Because this will help me tailor some of the things that I share with you, ladies. So, all right, I'm getting them a lot of them, having to work till I'm old, running out of money, not understanding investments. All right, ladies, keep them coming. Come on. You talk to me, I'll talk to you. I appreciate it. All right. So as you're typing those in, please keep doing that. Thank you. The other question that I am going to ask, and I know we're not supposed to do this, but remember, this is no shame time, is how old are we? This, again, will also help me tailor what we talk about. So give me some idea of where we stand. Hi, darling. She just walked in from a 12-hour shift. She's not looking very happy. Okay, so we've got some that's, okay, let's see. I'm just looking at the answers. So I see some in the 50s. I'm just taking tallies here just to give me a feel. So as some of the questions come up, all right, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so this is helpful. Thank you, ladies, for doing this. I'm just doing some tallying as we're doing this. Okay, all right, okay. All right, ladies, thank you. Cost of living, not equaling investments, Social Security. Okay, great. Keep them coming, keep them coming. Did I do that, the scribble? Okay, I don't know what happened, but so it looks like a majority of us here, we've got some that are on the younger end, but we also have some that are, most of us appear to be between 51 and 70. It's kind of what it's appearing to be for me. So that will help me as I go along. Thank you so much. So all of these fears that we discussed are part of this syndrome. This are combined into what's called this bag lady syndrome. And actually, I don't like this term, but it's real. And it's been around, and something that a lot of financial people have used for decades. And so it's having this fear of being penniless, of being homeless, of being alone. And it's an anxiety that can be overwhelming and paralyzing. And a lot of times we react to it in some unhealthy ways. And the truth is, it isn't always realistic, because I have worked with a number of women that have millions of dollars to their names, and yet they still have this fear. So you're not alone. All right. And there's been a number of companies that do these studies. And there was one that was published in 2019 that basically said over half the widows that they surveyed had this fear of running out of money before they run out of life. And so as you heard from me, I mean, my husband suddenly passed when I was 39. Our twin girls were 10. He provided 90% of the income. His company provided excellent healthcare benefits. Um, let's see, I we had no family around where we lived, and we had just bought this really expensive, ginormous house that he wanted. So I had taken off 5 years because our twins were preemies, and so I was helping them. So I was just starting this new career, and I was terrified, absolutely terrified, ladies. So I get it. Um, but my daughters now are 26, and I've got a firm financial foundation now. And so the things that I've learned, I want to be able to share with you and to let you know that things can change. They can get better. And so here are 5 broad areas to consider for financial security. Face that fear. Complete a financial checkup. Prepare for the future. Then we got to take that first step. And then lastly, develop a financial support system, because we lost our husband. We lost that one person that if we did to ever talk about money, that's who we talked with. So how do we develop that? So the first one, let's just jump on in. Now, again, like I said, this is so very broad. We don't have a lot of time, and I could honestly give a series, spend 30 minutes talking about each and every one of these. So we're just going to really touch on the basics. But the one is, and I love Tracy Ellen Ross, I think she's hilarious, is we got to face that fear and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Now, you did it by at least answering those questions in the first poll. I say write it down on a piece of paper. Get a piece of paper, write it down, get it out of your head and get it down. To me, I believe that's the first step. And so once you face that fear, once you said, okay, this is it, now what am I going to do? So in this thing, I'm going to say, now we are going to turn the light on where we stand. And so raise your hands. How many of you have had your annual checkup yet? Let me see. Raise your hands. All right. All right. Mine is coming up later on this month. I normally get mine around my birthday, which is coming up. All right. I'm seeing some hands. Great. So just like you go in and sometimes you got to get lab work done beforehand, and then you go see the doctor, and then the doctor can look at your lab results and then do a physical exam. Guess what? Same thing with our money. So doing this financial checkup, it is looking at certain documents, certain pieces of financial information. Namely, the first one is, what are your monthly expenses compared to your monthly income? Okay, some people call it a budget. I don't like budget. Budget's like diet. I don't like either one of those. But okay, it is still important to check your expenses against your income. The next part of your financial checkup is measuring your net worth. Now, again, I don't like using financial jargon. I think that is a negative of a lot of us financial professionals. So I'm just going to break it down. What is your net worth? It is simply the difference between what you own, your house, your car, money in the bank, minus what you owe other people. So your mortgage, if you got credit card debt, you got a loan against your vehicle, all right? You take the difference, that's your net worth. And so take that snapshot of that. That's what that is. And then the third thing, for so many of us who talked about running out of money, okay, what are you doing what do you have saved for when you're no longer working? So we're going to check your financial plan. We're going to see how much you have saved in, say, a 401k or your 403b if you work for a hospital or for a school system. What if you have an IRA? Just looking at all of those numbers, gather all that information. Is it fun? No. But neither is going to the lab and getting, some blood drawn. That's not fun, but we do it. Now, some people may say, Daphne, it's so overwhelming. You don't know. It's so hard for me just to even get up in the morning. I understand. I do. Then find some help. Hire some help. Where do you go? Let me show you. Most of you are working, I think, Leanne, with somebody here, a Wings for Widow representative. The vast majority of us are seeing clients outside. of that. Another place where you can go, ladies, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to do a new share. Um, yeah, here we go. Go to the Wings for Widow website. Can you see the the website that's up? Yes? Here, look under, I'm going to move this around, resources. Just showing you that. If you go and you look under resources, I don't know how many times you ladies have done it, but there's tons of links and resources here. Helpful links, click on that. And that's where you'll find, you see this under financial? Find a CFP, that is a certified financial planner, or the Financial Planning Association. That's where you can find, if you don't want to use your volunteer through Wings for Widows, that's where you can go and find financial planners who will help you put together a plan. All right, so that's where you can go. Or maybe you already have a financial planner that you use, that you have before. So that's where you'll go. So now let's see here. I'm going to go back to this and I'm going to switch this up because here we go, new share. How you ladies doing down there? You doing good? Yes? All right. I know I'm jumping around, but hopefully this is helping. So that's step number 2, do a financial checkup. Step number 3, oh Lord, now we got to face the future. And what my daughter said, she says, Mommy, that's probably the hardest part, is facing a new future. I said, yeah, baby, you're right. So remember how you answered that first polling question? What was something that kept you up at night? Based on how you answered that is probably where we're going to start. Once you work either with yourself or with a financial professional, where are you going to start preparing for the future? If you said your main fear is running out of money, guess what? We're going to work on that middle one, building savings and reducing debt. We're going to focus on that. If you say, my gosh, Daphne, I'm so afraid of dying alone. He was supposed to care for me. Okay, then let's talk about health insurance and where you can get long-term care insurance. Again, these are tools, but these are taking the steps. There are things out there for us so that we can be better prepared. I'm going to check the chat box and see what we got here. Okay, yes, thank you, ladies. And these things, now I know some of this stuff, some of this stuff you're going to need a financial professional to work with you on, whether it's to buy long-term care insurance. But it's still something that's worth it. And I'm happy to share with you in the future. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but the other thing, no matter what, ladies, is we need the third one, is to update your will, your beneficiaries, and who your healthcare power of attorney is. Again, that's hard. I know it. Trying to figure out, okay, who now? But every single one of us here on this call has had to deal with settling our spouse's estate. And the fog and the pain and it's overwhelming. And so let's not do this to our loved ones now that we know better. And again, work with your counselor, work with your coach. He or she can help walk you through these or refer you to somebody who can do this. All right. Step number 4. Now we got to do it. Now we got to do it. We got to take this action. So I'm not going to go into what actions do you take when, because, oh gosh, it's so very dependent upon who you are, how long you've been on this new journey. But if nothing else, I am learning to be intentional. Be intentional with how I spend my time. Be intentional with what I use my brain space for. Be intentional with how I spend my money. And so if nothing else, because there's only so much we can tackle at a given moment. So if you're intentional with, okay, today I'm going to look at getting my expenses in order. Okay, you are intentional with that. And whether you spend 10 minutes or an hour doing it, that is awesome. Next is plan your steps. Pick whatever is the first step. And then lastly, ladies, I'm going to encourage you, invest in yourself. I don't know about you, but I spent so much of my life before taking care of others, taking care of my children, taking care of my husband, taking care of my clients, taking care of my family, my parents. Um, and I just didn't invest in myself. And we, if we don't invest in ourselves and take care of ourselves, then we are not as much help to those around us. I don't know when's the last time you've been on an airplane, but do you remember what do the flight attendants tell us? If that little bag falls down from the ceiling, what are we supposed to do? Miki, what are we supposed to do first? Unmute.
We're supposed to put our mask on and then turn to the person next to us.
That's right. That's right. And so same with investing in yourself. If that means, okay, great, Daphne, that I don't understand investing. My husband always did that. And I've just, it makes me nervous. Okay, great. There's resources. Let's learn. Go to motleyfool.com, go to Yahoo Finance, pick up a book from Warren Buffett, anything. Go on YouTube. There's so much, and you can make it less intimidating. But again, in order to get rid of this bag lady feeling, knowledge and light is power. And the last thing, ladies, is develop that financial support system. Now, I know this is hard. This is one of the hardest things for me to do. To feel comfortable enough to share my finances with another person. I mean, that's what my husband and I did. I get it. But let me tell you, when we feel isolated or when we isolate ourselves, that contributes to that sense of fear. Am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? And so if you have somebody, whether it's a sibling, or maybe if you have adult children, what better than to teach them the financial concepts that you're learning? If it's a friend, I've got a really dear friend of mine, and she and I, we sit down and we talk about what's a quarter. We bring our spreadsheets, we open up our accounts together, and we share real fears. I tell, I'm afraid. I said that. I said, I'm afraid I'm going to run out of money. And so she looks at me as she's looking at my numbers, and she says, now, is that a realistic fear, Daphne? And so it just helps me stay in check with somebody. And by the way, she's a widow as well. She gets it too. So that's it. I'm going to let this one sit with you ladies for a little bit. This is so hard. We must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. We plan to have a life with our husbands, our spouses, and yet we are on this path, and this is not the life we chose. But when we're willing to take these steps and move forward, then we can embrace the life that is waiting for us. And so last thing I want to ask you, ladies, is what action will you take now? I was supposed to type in some of these actions on here, but I apologize. So I want to know, are you going to do your financial checkup? Are you going to talk to somebody about what is really investing? Is it going to be, let's say you're going to find that social network, that one person. Are you going to look to hire a financial professional? Let's see, what do you got here? I want to know, what are you going to do next? Get on YouTube and learn more. Yes, that's right. That's right. I'm going to look more at I'm going to run a financial calculator and see, am I on track to stop working when I want to? Their calculators are on the Wings for Widows website. Get a coach. Absolutely. Keep them coming, ladies. Yes. Listen, put on paper income. Yes. Yes. These are things if we just take one step. And so with that, I just want to say thank you. I'm going to be respectful of your time. And Miki, who's going to come up because she's awesome. But I don't know what happened here. So here is my information. If you do want to reach out to me, that's how you can reach out to me. But also, if you've got your own coach, please reach out to your own coach that you're working with now. And so, ladies, again, thank you so much. I know this was a lot. Are there any other questions right now? I'm going to stop sharing. Any other questions that you would like for me to answer?
Yeah, I want people to feel free. If you have a general enough question, it's not super specific about your money. That's the kind of thing you would want to address with your financial coach if you're working with Wings for Widows. But if you have a question for Daphne, I think now's the time. We have time to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
Daphne, that was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I could do is give you a framework, ladies. But also, I hope to give you some hope. That was the other thing I was hoping to do is to say one step, just take one step forward. And also, I can also summarize some of the resources. I didn't show them. I showed you the Wings for Widows website, but there are other resources where you can go to get some unbiased information. And so I'll be sure and share that with Leanne, and then it'll be available for later on as well. Like things like Social Security, or where do you get insurance information? Where can you go and learn more about different things? Absolutely.
And I do want to mention that on our resources page, these are all resources that we have actually checked out. This is not just a list of that we picked off random. We've actually met with these people and talked with them. And in some cases, they are actually, they're on board with what we do at Wings for Widows, and they want to help. So they potentially would offer you a discount if that's needed. So those are things to investigate. Don't just say, oh, well, that's some list. This is actually a list that's been vetted. And so I want to make you aware of that. That's not, that it's good stuff.
Which is why I wanted to show those resources, Leanne, and let them know. So there is one question. Do you suggest having two financial planners review your assets to check if you are getting the same or similar advice? Okay, so as a former financial advisor, so I'm going to answer it that way. So I mean, I am a certified financial planner, so I still work with planning clients, but I don't manage investments anymore. So actually, I say one person, this is just my opinion, I think working with one person is easier. Here's why. It takes a lot to gather all of your information, to make sure that that person has everything. And most financial advisors or planners, they use similar software, similar things to analyze a person's situation. So I think the question behind the question, though, is how do I know if I can really feel comfortable with this person? No, that's not the question behind the question. All right. So I see somebody shaking her head no. So you could definitely do two. There's no harm in that. I think when it comes to choosing investments, definitely that could give you some different advice. But I think also if you're very clear about what are your goals and how comfortable do you feel with risk? Like I know once my husband died and I got the life insurance and I'm getting on my feet, I had so many financial advisors tell me, oh, you should get a mortgage, keep your mortgage. And I know in my heart I was so fearful. I didn't want to deal with paying a mortgage. And so I didn't do what the financial advisors told me to do. And here I was one too. But but again, you got to, okay, so here she said, I wonder if I'm getting given accurate projections with my money. Interesting. So if that's the case, then yes, if you're not comfortable, if that financial advisor cannot explain to you the assumptions that are made in terms of interest rates, investments, inflation, if they can't explain and you don't feel comfortable with those projections, then absolutely you tell them that first. But then if they're still not listening, then yes, get another planner. Yeah, get another recommendation. That's what I would do. And you can actually do that. You can go to a fee-based versus somebody that wants to just manage your money. Did that help, Mary? No, you're still kind of not sure.
Well, I would suggest that maybe we should set up something where, because we have what we have now, 8 or 10 CFPs on the Wings for Widows staff of volunteers that, you could come to us for free information. So that would be my suggestion.
Sure.
Then we could deal with that, because I know Mary, so we can
Okay.
talk about it off screen. So,
Okay. Awesome. So
yeah.
thank you so much, ladies. I am now going to pass the host to Miki, or do you want me to give it to you, Leanne?
I'm just gonna give a little introduction so you can pass it to Miki.
Okay.
Thanks, Daphne. That was great. Really appreciate it. Now, I think we should ask Daphne to just teach some classes. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm very honored and would be happy to do that. Yes.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Well, let me introduce Miki, so we give her the maximum amount of time. And I told her she had permission to go a little over, and I hope that's okay with you, but I think when you hear her, you'll be very much engaged and want to hear everything she has to say. Miki is a writer, a musician, an entrepreneur, and a high energy spokesperson for grieving people. Her Facebook Live weekly broadcast is called The Healing Half, and she is author of the book, My Heart Still Remembers, which I believe she'll be telling you a little bit more about. It is great. I just read it this past week, and it is a wonderful workbook for just bringing to mind all the things about your spouse that you loved, and even the things that you didn't love, in a realistic way that honors them. I loved it, and I'm going to use it in some groups that I'm a part of. Miki says, I am passionate about helping beautiful souls that are hurting bridge the gap between grief and hope through music and words. Miki lost her mom at a very young age, only 13, and she will probably tell you a little bit about her story tonight as she shares. Her topic is how to remember your loved one in meaningful ways. Welcome, Miki.
Oh my gosh. Thank you all so much for being here. My name, as Leanne mentioned, is Miki Speer. I am a grief author, musician, and talk show host. And when I was 13 years old, my mom, Amy, passed away from colon cancer. And I'm sure, like a lot of you, perhaps in the audience, even though it was cancer, you would think I saw it coming. You would think that I had like the wherewithal to kind of prepare myself. But when she pretty much went from her bedroom to the hospital and she died shortly after at hospice, it felt sudden. It felt like it came out of nowhere because I had hope for so long. Faith is really important to me. And so it's like I just kept telling myself, like, God would never let this happen. You pray, she's gonna be okay, she's gonna heal. And so I just never let myself go there. I never like let myself even fathom that that was possible. And it wasn't until after she died, of course, it's possible, as you all know, the terrible things happen. I seriously went into what I would best describe as shock and denial for I think almost a decade. And I'm not exaggerating that I just kept really busy. I told myself I was fine. I told everyone else who kept asking me I was fine. I kept saying, why do I knew why they were asking me, but I was like, I'm fine. Like, why are you asking me that? It's like, well, because something traumatic happened and they care about me. But I didn't want to let anybody in. I was the oldest of 3 girls, so I very much wanted to be strong. I wanted to like prove to myself that I didn't need help. And I was 13. I was at that teenager phase anyways, where you're kind of fighting for independence and you're a little rambunctious. So I lived in that state of being in denial and of pretending I was fine. And anytime anyone talked about my mom, I went the other direction because I just couldn't go there. And it wasn't until, like I said, about 10 years later, when everything started to slowly but surely crumble around me, relationally, spiritually, school, at the tail end of college. I played volleyball. You can't tell now, but I'm 6'4". So I played volleyball in school and I was sobbing for no real reason. Like the coach would yell at me, like, hurry up or hustle, or like what coaches yell at it's not a big deal. And it would send me sobbing. And I thought I had a crying problem. I distinctly remember asking the doctor, I think there's something wrong with my tear ducts. I cry a little bit too much. And it wasn't until someone finally suggested, you mentioned your mom died when you were 13. Like, how is that going? Of course, my answer was, I'm fine. And they said, I think you need to go to the counselor. So it wasn't until after I started going to the counselor, finally allowing people in and understanding that we have to own our trauma. It's so easy to look over and say, oh, well, somebody else has it worse than me. Who am I? Who am I to even, give airtime to my issues? And so I had to own that. And I finally had to admit what happened to me was traumatic. And what happened to each and every one of you was traumatic. And that's slowly began my process of what I now love to do, which is to help everyone lean into their grief, at whether it was last week that it happened or 50 years ago that it happened. It's so important that we lean in to that grief and we keep processing it, because it never goes away. It's something we learn to live with, and hopefully something we can learn to dance with. As cheesy as that sounds, it doesn't have to be this terrible thing for forever. And so that's my passion, is helping people connect. So let's get into it. I want to hear more about you. What we're going to talk tonight is I've got a metaphor for legacy. So we're going to talk Pellegrino tonight. I also have my guitar with me as well. So we're going to do a grief activity at the end. And if you have a candle nearby, I do ask that you go grab that now, maybe with a lighter, if that's something you could easily find, because I think that would be just a really cool thing you can do with me here at the tail end. And I promise you, we will not go that much past 8 o'clock. I'm really thinking we're going to be done beforehand. So while you're getting your candle, once you come back, what I would love to hear from you in the comment section is, what was the name of the person you lost and how long ago? I don't know about you guys, but one of the hardest things about losing somebody so close to you, and I know I don't know what it's like to lose a spouse, but with my mom, it's eventually people stop saying their name, and it just gets further and further between those instances where someone talks about them. So I would love to hear in the chat feature, whenever you get a chance, who was it, who you lost, just their name, and how long ago did that happen? And I guess I'll kind of kick it off first. My name is Miki, but I lost my mom, Amy. Wow, it'll be about 14 years ago. And I'll kind of see the names, and I want to say them for you because I think that's really important. We've got Marty, Brad, Gary, and Rachel. I'm so sorry, all of you guys. Kyle, Vincent, Bill, Randy, Evans, Floyd, Michael, John, David, Rick, Greg, Sister Rochelle, Brian, Eddie. Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you so much for sharing. We've got Lee. And if I apologize if I missed any of them, but this is heavy. And I know I speak for all of us when I say there's a permanence that still seems unfathomable some days, where you're like, is this real? Like, kind of slapping yourself, is this happening? on my show, The Healing Half, which I would love for each and every one of you guys to join. It's live on Tuesdays. If you've been on the show and you've seen it before, let me know in the comments. I'd love for you to join me live. A lot of my guests, a lot have been widows, actually. That's one of the things that they say kind of often is we still have to sometimes pinch ourselves and be like, this is my reality. This is a club I never wanted to be part of. And yet here we are. And on days that are hard, we have a choice in front of us. Do we lean in to those hard emotions, or do we do what I did for 10 years, which is keep busy, pretend I'm fine, and pretend all these things that I tell myself I have to do are more important than my healing, because they're not. Going to the grocery store, that can wait an hour, but we don't tell ourselves in those moments, we're like, but I'm busy and my sister called and my dog needs to go to the dog park. And we just let ourselves spin out of control. But we know that that spinning eventually wears you down. You feel eventually disconnected and you feel anxious and edgy and irritable all the time, and you can't figure out why. And eventually that's where I was. And what I realized is I wasn't connecting back. I wasn't connecting with this massive trauma, this foundation of my life, which was my beautiful, radiant mother. It deserves airtime, and each and every single one of your losses were part of you, and it deserves airtime. So tonight, think of a bottle. It could be, this is a Pellegrino, but if you like wine or whatever else, this is an exercise that we can all do to help remember how to process, because that's my big passion, is encouraging people to lean into their grief. But sometimes people are like, okay, I've got an hour on my calendar, I'm ready to go. And then they go to their room and they sit and they kind of sit and they don't know how to start. So this is a really easy activity for all of us to do. We'll kind of do it together. Feel free to open that wine bottle if you want. That's fine with me. But this is just a good thing for us to get going. And as Leanne did mention, my book is also another avenue for this. So we're going to talk about the bottle metaphor here, but also if you do really want to sit down and process and give airtime, I sometimes tell myself, oh, I don't think I need that today, but I'll do it anyways, practice what I preach. And I sit down, and every single time something new, something cool comes up and something gets processed I didn't know I needed to process. So let's jump in and do this together. So you have your bottle, and I want you to, if it's safe, turn it upside down and think of it funneling this way. At the top, we've got sticker 1. Here we've got sticker 2, and at the bottom, it kind of pours out through here. And this is what we're going to call our legacy bottle. So on days that are hard, this is what we can keep in mind. But before I tell you what layer 1 is, I would love to hear from you. What are some days for you that are particularly difficult? And I know as I look through the questions, it ranges from 15 years to 2 years to 14 months to 11 months. My heart just, I'm virtually hugging each and every one of you in a COVID safe way. So whether it's been a longer time or very recently, what are some days that are particularly difficult for you? Birthdays? I birthdays are birthdays are a tough one, because for me at least, I'm thinking, okay, my mom should be this age. She should be going through all these things. Absolutely. Weekends, birthdays, sick days, Father's Day. For someone whose husband was a minister, Sundays. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Their death anniversary, angelversaries, holidays, anniversaries. Okay, thank you guys so much. So as we go into those days, we know that they're coming up, right? Usually our body starts to show some kind of sign that those harder days are coming up. Maybe we're not sleeping well. Maybe we're finding we're abnormally distracted leading up to those seasons. I want us to get our bottle out, and we got 3 layers of legacy here, but it flows out. So if you're kind of just kicking it off and you're like, okay, I know this day is coming up. I want to process it, and I want to make sure I am present in my grief, and I want to make sure I'm there and I'm staying connected. First layer is the 5 senses. We've got sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing. So what you just want to do, and feel free to write this down. I've also got a post that I can make sure Leanne has that kind of covers this more in depth. It's very simple. And as a kid who very much pushed my dad and anyone else's attempts to like, help me in those years, I just couldn't do it at that point. This is a great way if you have somebody in your family that perhaps struggles to go there with you. This first layer is supposed to be light. We're not getting deep yet. That will come. But you can do it with anybody. You can say, using the five senses, just ask the question, what did they do that I could kind of use the five senses to honor them today? Maybe your husband loved spaghetti and meatballs, so you can just share with your family, hey, we're going to have spaghetti tonight because dad loved spaghetti. I know that sounds really surfacey, but for some people, that's enough. Like, that's enough to really get the tears going and to start feeling ever so slightly more connected. Some other great examples would be listening to their favorite song or watching a movie in their honor. Again, this top layer, this first part of the bottle, is just to start getting some things flowing without overthinking it. And this would be great once more time just to, I know a lot of people in the audience might have kids or whatever that you kind of struggle with bringing them into that conversation. This is a great way to start and be like, hey, this day is coming up. Let's do this light activity to honor him in that or her in that way. So I would love to hear in the comment section, pick one. What's one thing? It could be a song, a dish, a movie. What's one thing that your person loved that you're like, you know what? I could definitely incorporate that into a hard day. I love that. Motown music. Oh, I'm sitting with you. Absolutely. Kenyan tea, the blues, Italian food. That's amazing, you guys. Somebody in the private one directly to me said he loved Frank Sinatra. Yeah, absolutely. German chocolate cake. Larry loved that one. Fishing. Those are all beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Got dinners with the family. Yeah, just to be together is a great place to start. And I would encourage you, if you're doing that, I know it can be hard, but just to say that one thing, be like, because of this day, let's get together. I think that can sometimes just be a conversation starter. Wild rice soup on a cold day. Ooh, Cheryl, that sounds amazing. Today is a kind of a cold day in Minnesota. Cold Stone hamburgers. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. So that's, as we kind of look at our bottle, that's the bulk, right? Like that's going to get a lot of stuff started, and we can really start to lean into our grief in that way. And I'm seeing the comments come in. I love that so much. You guys, that's so beautiful. I'm so happy you're able to do that, Jan. The next wave that we can do, once we get through this, we kind of come up with a game plan on how are we going to incorporate some of the hard things. And it's amazing how that can sometimes just be enough to connect and just have great conversation. I encourage the next step would be, I'm a huge believer in journaling. I love to process. That's what this whole book is about. My heart still remembers it's all about processing and putting pen to paper. I think there's a lot of value in that. The next step is to take it a step further and say, and kind of analyze that. And so this next step is analyze. What do I miss? Specific, get nitty gritty, get specifics. This is really where we have a chance to let all of the heaviness that we carry on our shoulders have words. I think I just know from my own loss with my mom and a bunch of people that I've lost since, it's like grief is almost like this intangible cloud behind me. And it's not until I sit down and I start to pick that cloud apart that I can actually put words to various things that the cloud starts to kind of dissipate a little bit. Not that grief ever goes away, but there is power to putting words to what we're feeling, or else, and you probably know the emotion, you're just going to feel that chaos and it builds and builds and builds, and we're distractible because we haven't processed that cloud yet. So some basic questions that we can ask ourselves: what do I miss? What are their favorite things, you know, that I no longer have, those secondary losses. Some other ones could be, you know, who haven't I talked to in a while because of, you know, of their loss, or it could go a billion directions, but that would be that analyze step, is putting words to it. And this is honestly probably best done on your own. Set a timer, put your phone on airplane mode, shut the door, and get that done. The less distractions, the better. And then the last and final step here, as we kind of work our way to the bottle and popping the lid off and really just letting the floodgates go. And this is my favorite one. It is the legacy component of how is our person going to live on through us. One of the most beautiful metaphors that I have seen is my mother-in-law. Her son passed away from suicide, and she has the semicolon as a big theme, which is a very common suicide thing. Is it's like, my life might be over, but my story continues. And I love that so much, because each and every one of us are the legacy keepers of our person that passed away. We are charged, which is a beautiful charge, it's a beautiful task, with continuing on what they did. So as I think of my mom, just to kind of give some examples, and by the way, this is all outlined in this book, so don't feel like you have to memorize this too much. You know, ask yourselves, what qualities of theirs did you really admire? My mom was a friend to everybody. She was so giving, full of life, full of joy. And I want to make sure with this legacy piece, I am continuing those on. So one day when I have kids, my hope is that even though they didn't get to know her, I mean, I firmly believe they'll get to know her one day in heaven, but hopefully that's a very long way away for my future children, that they won't get to know, they will know her through me. And it's this truth for each and every one of you on the call. I will know your person through you. I might never know that you were extra patient that day because that's what your husband was. I will never know that, but I am benefiting that because you chose to be extra patient today. My grandpa, who I love dearly, was my second loss. So it was my mom, and then it was my grandpa. Um, he was the most slow to anger, soft spoken person ever. And I want to emulate that. And it's hard. That's not natural for me. So when I think of grandpa and I say, okay, I am going to be extra blank today, not only are we thinking of him, we are honoring his legacy, which is saying, hey, grandpa, you made a difference on me, and my life will hopefully be better because I'm being more patient. But then and this is the catalyst of this whole thing. The explosion happens when we carry that not only to ourselves, but onto somebody else. And that's where the real magic happens, is when we can see us carrying on their legacy and it impacting other people. It reminds us that their spirit is alive and well. They are still making a difference in people's lives, even though they're gone. And as I think on days that are hard, days where we are so angry and so lonely and so, how is this my life? That one silver lining is when we can see somebody else smile because of our person, and we are the in between, the middleman in that equation. Some great things you can do is think of their favorite meal and go cook it for somebody. My mom was an amazing card giver. Every birthday for all of her like 50 nieces and nephews, she sent cards out, and I can do a better job with that. So without further ado, I'm going to share with you guys my website, and then we're going to end on an activity together because of that. So let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on this bottle activity? Which one of the three do you resonate with most? And while you're sending me that, I'm just going to pull up my website here really quickly so you can see this free book giveaway that I want to share with you. So Leanne, can I get a thumbs up? Can you see my screen? Thumbs up. I love it. As a way of saying thank you for being here, you guys, I want to give a free My Heart Still Remembers book away. Doesn't matter where you're located. I will send it anywhere in the world, and I mean that. And so all you have to do is sign up for my email list if you are not already on that. So in addition, again, I do a lot of stuff. I'm a nut, you guys. I am busy, busy bee, but I love it. I'm so passionate about this stuff. Head to MikiSpeer.com. Across the top, you will see kind of my various activities that you can do if you want to connect with me. You've got my show. All the replays are right there. My music, you'll hear me play live in just a moment. But I've got so many new songs. I've got a new one coming out in a week called My Heart Still Remembers, which is actually the title of the book. So much fun. The book itself, you could shop. If you click on shop, it will take you to my Zazzle store where I have some motherless Mother's Day cards. They work both for people who lost a mom, but also you can send one to somebody who is a mom having a hard time. And I know we're right up on Mother's Day, so it might be a little late depending on the shipping. But I want you to know in about a week, I will have a whole new wave of fatherless Father's Day cards. So if you want to give them to your kids or people you know who Father's Day is really hard, please keep this shop in mind. I know I've never seen this thing like that on any Hallmark shelf, and that was something I always felt like was missing for me on Mother's Day. And I hope, and I'm sure perhaps other people wouldn't hurt to just send a note saying, hey, I know today's kind of tough, thinking of you. So that's another way I just hope to help people. But as you're on my website, you can see my mug shots kind of sprinkled throughout. When you get to the bottom, you will see this thing that says ready to begin healing. Sign up for my email list. Tomorrow morning, I will let Leanne know of all the people who just joined my email list tonight. I'll do a random draw. I'll reach out to you via email. And from there, I will send you the book. But for everybody else who hasn't been on my email list, if you have any questions regarding the book or anything else that I do, please, please, please let me know. And then I actually just had somebody in the comment section say that they'll give a second book as a giveaway, as just their, oh my gosh, okay, so we're giving away 2 books tomorrow. That is so very kind. Holy cow, thank you to the anonymous person who did that. That's very sweet. So without further ado, you guys, we're right up on our time. Let's grab those candles. Here's another really easy way we can honor them is just by lighting a candle on days that are hard and pausing. And I'm going to play for you one of my songs, which are available on all platforms if you wanted to check it out, called Light a Candle for Me. And when you sign up for my email list, it will actually have a free Light a Candle for Me workbook with a candle lighting ceremony and some reflection questions in it, because this has been one of my favorite activities to implement now that I am finally leaning into my grief. So without further ado, here's Light a Candle for Me. You know some doors can't be opened, and words can't heal a heart that's broken. Holding me in your arms is what you really need. But in the meantime, you can light a candle for me and let the flame light up the room like my smile used to do, and let the memories begin to fill your mind. Don't be afraid to say my name and begin to share your pain, and remember I'm right by your side. No, we can't go back to the way it used to be, but in the meantime, you can light a candle for me. When I passed away, your world stopped turning, but the love we share won't stop burning. I know one day we'll meet again, and there won't be a missing piece. But in the meantime, you can light a candle for me and let the flame light up the room like my smile used to do, and let the memories begin to fill your mind. Don't be afraid to say my name and begin to share your pain. And remember, I'm right by your side. No, we can't go back to the way it used to be. But in the meantime, you can light a candle for me. No, we can't go back to the way it used to be. But in the meantime, you can light a candle for me. My heart breaks for each one of you. I am so sorry that you guys are here with me on this club nobody wants to be a part of. But thank you so much for having me. I really look forward to being in touch with each and every one of you, hearing your stories. I'm always looking for guests on my show if you ever want to share yours. So, Leanne, thank you so much for having me. Daphne, you did fantastic. It's so great to meet all of you guys.
Thank you. I don't think there's a dry eye in the house.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, well, no, that's good because you know what? The tears, God, He says in His word that He captures all our tears and stores them in a bottle. So they're there.
Absolutely.
Yes. So thank you so much, Miki. That was beautiful. And really just a good reminder, say His name, live the life that He taught you to live. I always say to my family, I'm trying to channel my inner Dave. You can't live with a person for 40 years and have them not change you and make you a different person. And, you know, that's the life that He would want me to have. So I'm very thankful for that. So thank you, everyone. This was just a wonderful evening. I know that it's very moving and meaningful. Do sign up for Miki's mailing list so that you can get your free book. And you know what? I think that might be something that we will have ongoing, that we'll be giving those books away. I really would like people to work through them. They're hard. It's hard though. Boy, after even 4 years down the road, I started reading this and I could hardly read it. It was very meaningful for me. Thank you. Thank you for your insights. And Daphne, thanks for the great job you did. Absolutely. It's so fundamental that we work through these things, and I love that you emphasize it's not just thinking about them, but actually doing something. And Miki would agree. It's not just thinking about doing it, but actually doing it. And that's the hard part. And one of our pastors recently had a series of sermons on do the next right thing. And I thought that is such a good word for widows. Just if you can just do the next right thing. Don't worry about 10 things down the road. Just do the one. And that will get you somewhere and you'll feel better. So thank you so much, everybody, for this wonderful evening. Don't forget to sign up for May 19th. And thank you, and happy Mother's Day to all of you, even if it is a difficult day. it can be a wonderful day as well. So hope to see you next time and have a good evening.